Hi, everyone. Hope you're all well. So, I've just seen some news pop up, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And yeah, it's just it's one thing after another, isn't it? So yeah, people are really getting sick and tired of what's going on in this country. People are tired of all of what's being allowed to happen. So it's kind of funny how, well, it's not funny, but you know what I mean. It's just, it's ironic. Hello, thank you for the like. It's ironic how they're, bringing in all this stuff about protecting children and all this kind of crap. It's all about protecting children, all this ID bullshit, right? That's what they say. It's to protect children. Yet they keep letting these people in to attack people, and there's just another incident just happened on the train, and 9 people have been injured. So yeah, it's like as more and more of these people come in, then the more and more of these things are going to happen, and then people get called racist if they call it out. But it's like, it's not being racist. It's just pointing out facts. How much of this was happening before the floodgates opened? It's not to say that everybody from that race is bad, but there needs to be better vetting on people, and they need to make sure that they're actually going to be law abiding and going to actually respect. They are not racist, they are scared. What do you mean? You're on about the fact that, like, yeah, there's all these events going on, like, terror going on, and yeah, like, people just minding their own business on a train, and then it's just crazy, isn't it? But I think that we're on the verge of a civil war, because you saw the thing with Southport, right, and how bad things were getting there. I mean, World War III. I mean, we can talk about that, but I'm just talking about just at the moment about kind of the fact that the people are getting sick of it. You saw like in Southport, and I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that way of doing things, but it's like, Haley, how you doing? I hope you're well. But it's like, I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, and not even that. We're literally just, things really haven't kicked off yet. I don't think people are getting to like breaking point, I think, with it all, because there are people being hurt, people being killed, and a lot of this would have been like unnecessary. Hi, Carl, how you doing? I hope you're well. A lot of it's totally unnecessary, and just a government that just doesn't give a fuck about its people, but yet they'll bring in laws to try and they're supposed to be there to protect children from like adult content or whatever, but even though it doesn't really work, and it's been proven that it doesn't actually really work, and it's just a way to get more of people's personal data from them, you know. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like if you're law abiding and you're from a different country, then I don't see anything wrong with that. But it's just that there's quite a few bad apples that are trying to ruin things for everybody. In an ideal world, we could all just kind of move freely, and as long as we're respecting each other's cultures and things. Hello, big gorilla. How you doing? Make sure you subscribe if you're new, people. That would be really appreciated. But let me just sort something out real quick. But yeah, I don't know. Is Emily still there? She's just said hi and then just kind of stopped talking or something. I'm scared of the world. Yeah, I mean, the whole world is just gone crazy, hasn't it? It's just. You are still there. Hello, Jamie. Oh, Carol. Yeah, how's it going today? I hope you're well. Thank you all for joining me this morning. Everybody hit that like button. Come on, guys. Got 14 in the house and something in the chat real quick. So I put, please like, share, and subscribe. So yeah, thank you for subscribing, P Morgs. Does that stand for Piers Morgan or something like that? Let's just just put this. Just going to sort this message out. So I'm going to pin that. So many different factors at play, so you can't just pick one thing out. What do you mean? What we're talking about here? The best way is by using the right tool to create the best product and product. What are you saying, James? What do you mean? P. Morris says, yeah, all right. Are you Piers Morgan fan or something? I personally think he's a bit of a bellend and he's just like, I don't know. Oh, Parker Morgan. All right, okay. At least the downfall of the UK. Yeah, I think that the whole, obviously I want to get more into just in general, because the whole thing with the immigration is just is a part of it, and we shouldn't focus too much on that. But it's kind of inspired me to want to talk about this whole general issue of the UK and the world at large, the Western world, and the collapse of it, and how, like I said, these laws coming in and free speech laws, they're trying to scare people into staying silent. Look what happened to that woman who just for putting the tweet out, even though she deleted it, that they put her in jail, but then she only got let out because she were because there was so much outrage. But unless there's enough outrage, then they'll just do whatever the fuck they want. I have a feeling that this is a good idea for the future of the. What are you talking about, James? This is what are you on about? Is this some troll or something? I'm actually thinking of shutting YouTube down. Why is that then? Are you not getting a lot of viewers or something? Sorry if I've missed any of your lives or anything, but let me know when you're going live again. I'll try and hang out there. But yeah, the downfall of the UK has a lot of factors, like you said. It's unfortunate, really, isn't it? Because what was once a thriving country full of opportunity and is now just a shell of its former self. Of course, to the whole world, the prices of everything are going up. People are just getting tired of it all. People are sick of feeling like that all their tax money is being wasted on bullshit. Plans for today, I don't know really. I don't really have. I'll probably just do some kind of workout. So I'm feeling more recovered. Today. So I did a workout yesterday, but maybe I shouldn't have. But I have been going really hard with the workouts and things. I've just been maybe getting a bit carried away with it all. But I enjoy doing it, and it keeps me focused on something. So yeah, but yeah, it's like I was just saying, that we shouldn't have to be like, the things shouldn't cost so much, right? Just to get by, it shouldn't cost you so much. Every day it seems like, what's that? You mean prices going up and stuff, and everything just keeps getting worse and worse. Whether the prices go up or whether the things just become worse value or whatever. And I just feel like there's just more and more hostility and just I just feel an overall sense of just I don't know. People are just don't seem very nice anymore, and some of it might not necessarily be their fault. It could just be the way that people are just becoming a bit more bitter and just sick of everything. They're sick of how they're being treated. They're sick of being treated like, you know, like they just don't give a fuck about you. The system doesn't give a fuck about you unless you're one of them elitists, you know? Like you've got all these people sat in their ivory towers and just like, you know, they don't give a fuck. If you're doing well for yourself, that you probably don't give a fuck about what's happening to, you know, a lot of people because, you know, you're one of the privileged ones. 3 adult pizza, 2 children's meals, and 5 drinks, £118. I shit you not. Yeah, that seems legit. I mean, it's terrible, isn't it? It's like you go to like if you was to go to a takeaway, it's going to set you back a few quid. So like a lot of people just end up like even things like ready meals are expensive. The thing is, a lot of people they're going to work all day to like pay for the car that they had to get to, so that they could go to work. To also pay for a house that is, you know, that isn't being occupied whilst they're at work. You know, so it's basically staying vacant all day in most cases, and then they're, you know, they're probably having to like spend more on food because they just haven't really got time or energy to actually try and cook anything that's quite cheap and whatever. So they just end up usually going for, you know, a more expensive option that's like maybe a takeout or something, and just or a ready meal. It's like, yeah, it's just that yeah, things have just gotten so kind of expensive, and it's like we live in this country that's just, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, the weather hasn't been that bad for the most part. It's actually quite a nice day today. Because that, guys, it's quite yeah, it's quite nice out there. We're supposed to get some miserable weather's coming up, but I mean, but generally speaking, though, the weather isn't usually that nice here. It's not usually that sunny, and it's like, and people are not necessarily getting the best wages and stuff. It's like if we're gonna live in a miserable country, then at least make it kind of fun, you know. But yeah, it's good that if it's blue and it's some blue sky here, and yeah, it's quite nice. Anyway, thank you for the likes, everybody. Things are a lot cheaper in Europe. Yeah, the only thing is that their wages are also less, so it's probably about the same overall. But if you could move over to a different country like Spain, for example, your cost of living is a lot less. In fact, my uncle's got a YouTube channel, and I might start promoting it at some point. But basically, yeah. So he lives in Spain now in Almeria, and he's like, he was showing how things are way cheaper over there on average. Like a lot of stuff is like he was talking about when he buys wine or whatever, that it's like a fraction of the price what you would get over here. That's not the same for everything, but like overall, it's cheaper. So yeah, it's just you know, it's just like, yeah, if you can become like a digital nomad or something and leave the country, then more power to you, you know, because, you know, if you can find somewhere that's actually like decent, you know, Spain, it might be a good option. You're going to have probably better weather overall. Like you pretty much have perpetual summer over there. You only have about a couple of cooler months, and then the rest of it's warm to hot, you know. And if you're quite near the sea, then you can get a bit of a sea breeze. So it never gets too hot because you're going to get a bit of that breeze, but it never gets too cold either. So it's that right balance of like that weather. Because here it's either like freezing cold, or it's like, when it's hot, it's humid, and a lot of people feel uncomfortable. So whereas I've heard like Spain, it's a less humid kind of heat. So even when it is, hot, it doesn't feel that bad, if you know what I mean. Because I think my dad said he went in like a few years ago, and it was like, I think it was 40 degrees, but we had weather that was almost 40 degrees one year, and they said it felt hotter here. Oh, welcome back, P Morgs. Hello, James. How you doing? Hope you're well today. So it's just, I guess the point is that this country is just like, I don't know. A lot of people want to try and praise this country and look up to it, but I think everywhere's got its problems. It's like a lot of people like, I suppose people can be like trying, oh, I wish I was in this country, or I wish I was in that country. It's like when people say, oh, I wish I was tall or whatever. But then at the same time, it's like there's pros and cons to everything, I think. But yeah. Hi, Lucy. How are you doing? Good to see you. You're not over at Yogi Live at the moment. Hello, Casitio. Good to see you. I've got a good chat this morning, guys. I guess it's the title. I don't know. But basically, yeah, I think that, I don't know. It's only a matter of time. I've been sort of like predicting this for a while, just with how things have been ramping up with the whole kind of like, with the whole immigration thing, and how the, like illegal immigration and all that, with the whole migrant hotel situation. I think the whole migrant hotel situation is kind of like only a small part of the issue, really. But I think people are just pissed off that like taxpayers' money is being put to that. But I think the broader issue would be more like that people are actually going to feel less safe now. The more and more of these people that come into this country that are unvetted, and it's going to like potentially make sort of people feel scared to even go out the house, especially like women. I think they're going to feel scared because a lot of them are actually targeting these women that are like, because it's like someone's saying they're trying to bring about Sharia law or whatever it's called, which is like if basically it gets to a point where some people are predicting that they're going to actually become like the dominant, sort of like ethnicity in this country, because they tend to breed a lot faster than we do. So it kind of makes sense that eventually they will overtake. So like, look at how many children they have. So then they could then start to bring about laws that are completely against our ethics and morality, which could be quite dangerous. But the governments don't give a fuck, because all they care about is votes and power and whatever, because they just want to get into power, but they'll do whatever it takes. So they'll let these people come in and just like destroy the country. So yeah, it's just but then people say, oh, you're racist, you're a bigot, and this and that. But it's like they won't listen. What does the word bigot actually mean, right? What does the word bigot mean? It means someone who is very kind of like well, let's have a look at the definition, because I remember I was talking to someone about this, and it kind of just shows you how hypocritical these people can be who use that word. So bigot meaning, because they are guilty of it themselves. Yeah. So let's see what it is, right? It says a person who is obstinately or unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction, especially one who is prejudiced against or antagonistic towards a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. So that's the thing, right? Is that they do it themselves. They will attack somebody, they'll slander and smear somebody who disagrees with them. They'll say that they're racist, they're bigoted, they are hateful, but it's like it's all smearing, and it's like there's not oftentimes based on reality. It's just they're emotionally triggered by what that person said. Sounds like autism, lol. That they are triggered by somebody having a different opinion to them. I'm gonna get going, but I'll give you good luck on working out, and I'll give you faith. Okay, thank you, James. Have a good day. Oh, I'm lame, am I? Yeah. What? So what? You know? Yeah, I'm lame. Anyway, so yeah, like what was the talk about the whole thing with the bigotedness, and how the word bigot basically can apply to a lot of these leftists who are very much it's okay, I'm not bothered, whatever. I'm just like letting it just kind of go over me, whatever. People have said all kinds of horrible things. It's going to take a lot to really kind of hurt me at this point. So yeah, it's just like they're saying it, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and all that. So I don't know, I'm feeling kind of a bit more hyped today. So yeah, I don't know, but at the same time, it's just some of these things are really kind of like, they just boil your blood though, these stories that you hear, because a lot of it could have been avoided. And like, it's like, what is it going to take for people to rise up? I'm not saying that we should start destroying everything. That's not going to be the answer, but I think people need to like, sort of figure out how are we going to put an end to all this? It's not all of the people actually, care about the future of this country need to kind of come together and put the differences aside. But I was talking about bigotedness and the how these leftists are guilty of that, and they'll say that someone is a racist or someone's a transphobe or whatever, because they have a certain kind of ideology and they're close-minded to someone else's opinion. It's like basically it's like, and it says unreasonably attached to an opinion, but that's a subjective thing. So both sides could say it about the other. It's just another way to attack somebody without actually like having to really kind of address what that person has said, because something has triggered you, and now instead of actually giving a reasonable rebuttal to that, you then say, oh, that you're a bigot. It's just a way of getting out of responsibility to actually come up with a response. It's like when people, it's called like what is it, an ad hominem attack? Not an ad hominem attack, it's something like that. It's like a way of it's like it's an attack on someone's person. To call someone a bigot, it's like a way of, or it's just, I can't remember the exact name of it. It's a certain type of fallacious tactic that people use to try and win an argument without actually without actually using any real evidence or anything. So that's the thing. It's the people using some kind of, there's a lot of people using, like deceptive and just, like emotionally manipulative language. You have to look out for things like that whenever someone's, like responding to a certain thing. Like, for example, if you're putting out just something that you see as like just facts, but they won't have it and they'll start attacking your character or things like that. It, like saying your mum at school, well, yeah, like people would just, it's like, I don't know. So instead of like coming up with it or just admitting that you're wrong and maybe that person has a point, because oftentimes it comes down to the fact that people base their whole identity around a certain political belief or something, like political, persuasion, if you will. They base their whole identity around that, or at least part of their identity. So if you call that into question, then that makes them feel triggered, and it happens on both sides, left, right, or even center. It's like, whatever political persuasion you are, then some people are going to feel attacked when someone, like does that. So they're saying about being unreasonably attached to an idea, which can be applied to both sides when someone is so invested to a point where they will not even listen to someone else's point of view. But isn't that healthy to do that, to listen into what someone says so that we can try and explain our side, look, take things from your perspective instead of just, because all it does is it just kind of creates more echo chambers. It's like when these people push for, to ban on free speech, for example, because that is, it's just, they say, how do we deal with bad speech? More speech, that what I mean is that we have to allow people to express all kinds of opinions, but then also that then invites people to rebut that and explain why they think that person is wrong, because otherwise, by banning that, all it's going to do is it just make that side just kind of even more kind of just polarized, and what I mean, the debate can perpetuate the same talking points. Yeah, moral superiority claim. Yeah, so it's like a thing of, oh, I'm open-minded and you're not, but actually it shows that they're not open-minded because they won't even listen to your point of view, and it's just it's all projection, isn't it? That's what they do, and I think that's like a point that they are projecting their own insecurities or whatever onto that person. So whatever they feel about themselves, are then trying to make the opponent feel like that themselves. Like whatever, it's like when people project their own self-hatred onto others. Like when someone says some nasty comments to somebody, attacking someone's character or whatever, or trying to downplay them or whatever, because they feel that about themselves. Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect is when someone over, sort of like estimates their own, intelligence. It's kind of like being a bit conceited and kind of just arrogant a bit. That's the thing. Let's say someone's read a book on psychology, now they think that they're some expert. That's what the Dunning-Kruger effect is. But a lot of people think that that because they've read a book on politics now, therefore they're an expert on politics, and that they now are able to kind of like, that they're smarter than everybody else. The less intelligent people are usually the most confident in their beliefs. Yeah, exactly. Because I guess it's because they don't know how much they don't know, I guess, is what it is. But the more that you know, it's kind of like a paradox. The more that you know, the more that you know that you don't know, sort of thing, if you get me. It's like because when you start looking into things like science and whatever topics, then you're like, oh shit, this is really fucking complicated. It's like, I didn't realize how complicated things were until I started looking into it. You start looking into the complications of like the human biology and how all the different mechanisms going on, and because we're taught a certain amount at school, but it's way deeper than that. There's so much more to it, and they're still finding out things about biology, anatomy, and stuff. I think there's still mysteries that we don't know about. There is also the reverse Dunning-Kruger effect, where intelligent people don't put their point across. Yeah, I guess that's the thing of like, I don't know how that would happen. Was in like, is it just they're afraid of like being wrong or something? I guess sometimes people, they are afraid of sort of like, yeah, because they realize how um, much they don't know because of they've learned so much, but then they realize that they still have so much to learn. To know when one knows is okay. To know when someone does not know is a dire disease. Is that a quote from somewhere? Something? Yeah. It's like there's a lot of like shit, like saying like fitness industry and whatever, and it's just like there's a lot of dogma and you know what I mean. People putting out stuff as facts, acting like they know everything, but I don't know how this really correlates with the whole thing of civil war. That's the problem, is I tend to kind of sidetrack a lot, but I suppose there's only so much I can really talk about civil war and how I think that it can break out, and but we're going to talk about World War III as well potentially, and how that could happen and why. But some are saying it's going to be like an East and West thing. I've heard people talking about a two world order. A lot of people going about the New World Order and like the whole kind of like like the whole CNI, the Illuminati, and all that. And some people say that that's all BS. But I think there is some kind of like these people at the top are like they're all like pulling the strings, and there's like a few families at the top who are, and like a few, very few like corporations that are all like running everything. It's quite scary to think that actually, because that means that the power is concentrated in very few people, whereas the rest are just kind of, yeah. Do not attribute malice that can easily be explained by stupidity. Haha. That sounds like another quote or something. But yeah, sometimes people are. But I think the problem is that it happens the other way around as well, where people just say, "Oh, it's just incompetence," but actually there is malice. For example, with the government, when people, like for example, back in 2020, and people were saying, "Oh, it was the government was, acting out of incompetence," but I don't believe that for 1 second. I think that it was all intentional what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. I don't think that they're that stupid, even though they might act like they're stupid. But I think that you need to have a certain level of intelligence to even get to that kind of position. So I don't think that they were acting out of incompetence. I think that they know what's going on. They might say that they're incompetent and maybe there's somebody else pulling the strings, but there is somebody out there that knows what they're doing. And I think that it's a distraction to say that they're acting out of incompetence, because it takes it to more of like it's just it's just irresponsibility rather than a malicious thing. So yeah. Yeah, I think that was the thing of Boris Johnson being this kind of just this it's all an act. They're all puppets, really. They're actors. I would even go as far to say they are acting a script. I don't think that he's as dumb as what he makes out to be. It's like, I don't know. It's like they all have this personality. Even Trump, like his personality could all be completely fake as well. They all have this kind of persona about them. But it's like even Joe Biden, it's like, so a lot of people were saying that maybe that whole thing was fake as well. But then again, it does seem like, I think he's not got long to live, as he or something. But it is kind of weird how someone who's got dementia can become a president or something. What's this world come to? When you've got someone who's got dementia become president, but then you think to yourself, well, is this guy really the one running the show? I don't think he is. There is people behind him. I think they've proven that that he's not the one that's actually calling the shots. So the whole thing of like these politicians, like I think that would be the wrong focus on trying to. People think, oh, we need to hold these politicians accountable, but it's like it goes deeper than that. It's the system. And I've talked about this before. It always interests me how people come up with an enemy who is both weak and incompetent and strong and powerful at the same time. Yeah. How is that even possible? It sounds like a total contradiction, unless somehow they have certain weaknesses and certain strengths at the same time. But it'd be a very unlikely person to try and profile for that kind of role. It'd be very hard to know how people are going to be if they say going to have, if someone's going to sort of have somebody as their leader, say to lead. If let's say if there is a powers that be that behind that is trying to put out a certain person that can be both of those things, but I would just say that the whole thing of them being weak and incompetent is a front, like they were saying. Oh yeah, Prince Andrew. Yeah, I know. It's all to me. There's a lot of we just don't know what to believe. It's there's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there. So I just don't really trust anything that I see, and a lot of the media is not really to be trusted. But yeah. People's strengths are also their weaknesses. That's how the two are not in opposition. So what you're saying is that depends on the situation or something but it's just, I don't know, the whole thing of Boris Johnson, and you think to yourself, I don't know, it was all a bit of a madness, really. But yeah, I don't know. It's just think to yourself, how is it that these people even get into power? But there's a certain charisma about them, I think, isn't there? Even if they seem kind of dopey or whatever, or that they have a certain thing about them. It's like you had Barack Obama, you had Trump. We had a few boring ones actually, what was it? David Cameron and Theresa May, who were just quite, connections. What do you mean? You know about that's how they get into power, but yeah, a lot of it's not even I think the whole thing of democracy is fake, and how it's all by design. It's all whoever gets in power. It's all designed to be that way. It's all manufactured. There was this thing called the Cambridge Analytica, which is they say that's how Trump originally got in or something, but I don't know what to believe. But basically that they were saying that they were there were this kind of there was some kind of I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I think there was a lot of a campaign to try and basically put out a lot of pro Trump to try and sort of get him in or something. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Compassion is seen as strong, but it's subjective to vanity and blind spots. Well, it's people are saying that vulnerability can be seen as a strength in some instances. By being vulnerable, it shows strength of character that you have a courage to be open, and you're not afraid to kind of to expose your weaknesses. So in that sense, it can be a strength of a sort of courage sort of thing. But yeah, but it's a lot of men feel like it's a sign of weakness to be vulnerable. I think that there's a kind of I guess you could say there's a gray area or whatever, and kind of I think a lot of it comes down to context and being vulnerable to the right person, and you have to be careful with things and know when it's the right time and the right place to do it, because because if you're vulnerable around the wrong person, they could completely screw you. They could use it against you. So we have to be careful and yeah, only reveal so much to like the right person that you think that you can trust in to be that way. Yeah, I think like when it comes to being vulnerable around the girlfriend, it's probably not good. But I think again, like I said, it's about context and. But yeah, I think when you're around the girlfriend, you should try and be strong, and you've got to be that rock, haven't you? You know, because as soon as she sees that you have any weaknesses, then that could be seen as sort of something that's like, yeah, kind of a bit feminine and sort of. But I think there's a time and a place to be vulnerable and show that maybe that's around family or somebody else, but yeah. Yeah, it's better for like somebody that else that you like if you have a family that you want to sort of like confide in or something, but it's a bit of a shame that about like you can't, you know, that I guess there is, it's not always going to be that way. There are going to be some women who will like appreciate that, you know, you being vulnerable to them, and I don't know. I can't say that every single woman's going to be that way, but it does seem like a lot would not really be not respect you if they. I think we shouldn't be like complaining about things if we're not actually like doing anything about it. And if it's something that we can't do anything about, there's no point complaining about it. So in that sense, I think that it's probably a good idea to just keep your mouth shut in general. But sometimes it's like, you know, you're supposed to be there to support each other, really. And you should be able to kind of be open if there's something that you're really struggling with. Because what's the fucking point then, you know? If I feel like I can't be open at all to them, then I might as well not bother. I might as well just stay single, you know? The thing about not being vulnerable in front of their partner is a weird take. Okay, Dale. I don't know. I'm just like saying that there's a time and a place, and I think it depends on like if you do it. If you're always kind of like showing your emotions all the time, and you're seem quite weak, and you're crying all the time, I think that is where things are seem a bit feminine and kind of like just not very masculine. But I think there's times where you should be able to kind of cry, and you should just be able to be human. Otherwise, you're just not human, and that you don't have a. I don't know, but okay, take care. But I think you shouldn't be complaining all the time and like sort of. That's not really a very masculine thing to do. Men should be about, you know, about what is it? You know, about being action. You know, getting into action and just okay. I see a problem. I'm gonna try and find a solution. Like, you know, we should be trying to work together and find a solution if there's a problem. But yeah. Anyway, I hope everyone's well today. If you are new here, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for the 11 likes. But I don't know. It's just but I think again it comes down to like extremes. It's kind of like the whole stoicism thing, and that's kind of like that's the opposite, I guess you could say, just being this kind of robotic kind of person who never shows emotions really, and just kind of never shows when they're pissed off or upset or whatever, you know, which I think can be quite dangerous. So if men are listening to that and being told never show your emotions, then you'll feel like you should never like reach out for help and stuff. So exactly, being vulnerable with the people you love doesn't mean you have to be a whiny bitch. Yeah, I think that like I said about nuance and gray areas, there's a lot of people don't really, because people want things to be black and white, and I can be like that at times where I talk in absolutes and stuff. But I've tried to understand that that things aren't always as simple as either be this stoic kind of robotic person that's not even like human, or be a whiny bitch. But it's like there's an in between that's like where you can be sort of someone who is strong emotionally and physically, and someone who can, you know, handle a lot of stuff, but also someone that knows that when things are getting too much, that they need to, they need to reach out. And I think that your partner, you should be somebody that you should be able to reach out to, because I think that's sad if you can never do that, if that person is never somebody that you can actually like, hey, I'm really going through some stuff right now, and because if they don't care about you and they're not there to really help you, then they're a selfish fucking person, and that they don't actually deserve to have you. So yeah, you have to have your, sort of like, you have to find someone who actually genuinely loves and respects you, and that. Now that doesn't mean being a whiny bitch, because I think also that shows a lack of, because they don't want to hear you keep like moaning as well. So you have to. It's like, again, it's a time. There's a time and a place for everything. So yeah, I'd want to know if my partner was struggling. Yeah, because then it's like it's just because if someone's struggling, then they could, you never know, because that person could end up, unaliving themselves or something. Because there was that whole story about that the autistic woman who was going through a lot of shit. She was getting a lot of hate on, and I don't know if, like, because she had somebody, she was with this guy, and I don't know if he knew like the extent of how it was making her feel, but I don't know if she kind of like hid it all or whatever. But I don't know if she ever really kind of, sort of tried to reach out and say, I'm really struggling with all this, because you think to yourself, how did it get to that point where she thought that the only option was to just unalive herself? Because that's the thing, is if you aren't able to, like, talk to your partner about it, yeah, you could say, well, you could talk to somebody else about it, and I've said that, but then at the same time, it's like, well, what's the point in being with that person then in the first place if you can't open up to them? And you're supposed to be there to support each other, that person, they're not just there to fucking have sex with and whatever. They're supposed to be your best friend as well, like, they're not supposed to just be some, like, somebody that you can't, sort of like reach out to and when you're struggling. Hi, sons. Okay, thank you. So yeah, we have to be like, just sort of okay to be vulnerable in certain situations, but like I said, it comes down to like knowing when to do it, and that takes us, I guess, a level of kind of wisdom and a level of mental maturity, because a lot of people, like I said, they either have this black or white mentality, where it's like, either I have to be, super stoic and vulnerable, or to just be very vulnerable, and just sometimes you have to sort of like hold back certain things because it just isn't really that necessary. Like, if I'm having a bad day or something, and do I need to like put that on somebody else? Because if it's just a bad day, then okay, I don't need to like whine about that. But if things are getting to you, then that's when you need to reach out. But yeah, because people are not going to have respect for you if you're just constantly complaining about things, because it can show a lack of just like, I don't know, like, it just a lack of emotional maturity and emotional intelligence, I guess. It's like unable to just kind of, just deal with that, just without having to broadcast it or something. And I've been guilty of that, where I would just kind of moan about things, but you got to think at the same time, like, well, that's just life, things happen. But it's like I was just moaning about someone just like, I don't know, like beeping or something. It's like, it's just a minor inconvenience. It's not the end of the world, is it really? It's exhausting for other people. Yeah, we've got to like have a certain level of like empathy and, sort of like to think that, well, what would that other person think if I'm just constantly like, it's like that what people call trauma dumping. There is a fine line between being vulnerable and opening up to somebody and just trauma dumping on them and just constantly just trying to, because a lot of people just do it for attention and just for sympathy and whatever, and people are just not going to respect you for that, especially if they don't see that you're actually doing anything about it. That you're just, it's like you're just trying to treat them as some kind of therapist. They're not there for that, to just keep like giving you attention. So yeah, like I said, there's a fine line, and it takes a level of maturity to understand that. But yeah, so anyway, but like I said, this world is just going to shit, and people are becoming more and more hostile. I feel, I don't know, people just don't seem to give a fuck anymore. I guess people are just done with I don't know, with any kind of hope. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes people have brought it on themselves, though. I think that if we actually do what we need to do, then we'd all be a lot better off. If we all came together and we just put all of our differences aside, we'd all be a lot better off, and we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in. So we all need to take some responsibility, I think, instead of just like being all kind of, oh well, like these people are causing all these problems, politicians or whatever, and it's like, yeah, they're causing shit, like, they are basically increasing the amount of terror that's happening because of their inactions, or because of their actions. So, but we need to take responsibility, though, and that's what we need to do. But like I said, we're seeing more of these events happening, and it's just, like I said, I think it's a symptom of a bigger issue. The fact that this whole system has failed. The fact that we have a political system that will choose power over people, profits over people. Yeah, it is toxic, but we have this system where it chooses power and corruption over its people because they want votes. So they will do whatever it takes, and they will just screw everybody else over for that. So they'll try and be this kind of like populist or whatever, and try and be like, oh, I'm there for the working class people, whatever. It's bullshit. They don't give a fuck. Like, we've got more and more homelessness keeps happening. Nothing's being done about it. In fact, they've literally built hostile architecture to prevent people from being able to, like, like what they call loiter, basically to stop someone from sleeping on a bench or something. I think they did that in Bournemouth, where there was like, I think it was some like these disabled veterans and just like homeless veterans in general that end up on the streets, who've like they invested in that to then stop that, but then instead of trying to like try and solve the issue of homelessness, they don't give a fuck. You know, I mean, you don't really see a lot of the people that are, these immigrants coming in being homeless, do we? I think that they're, in fact, if anything, they're mostly men, which are the group that they try and demonize as being, it's like they're saying that, oh, like men are this and that and whatever, but in a lot of ways, men are also like, oppressed. I could come up with a bunch of different ways that the men are oppressed in society now, but men generally are going to be more likely to be homeless and stay homeless, whereas women generally are going to. Yeah, there are some women that are homeless, but some of them are going to be able to be more likely to get support because generally women have better support networks, and I think that is something that isn't really talked about enough, about the fact that men don't have oftentimes good support networks. Yeah, it is horrible. Obviously, any homeless person, whether you're a man, woman, whatever gender, whatever race, it doesn't matter. But wonder how many guns they'll bring in for them bolts. Yeah. Well, they are like military aged, like men, so yeah, I don't know. They're like, but there's never any women though, is there? It's all men, isn't it? I think I was talking about this with my dad. It's like it's all men coming over, and they're just like gonna come over and like, what are they even coming over for? You know, why is their family that not there? It's like, why is it all just men? I don't know. It's a bit of a phenomenon, but I mean, there is good people from all races. So before anyone tries to twist anything, I used to live in an area that was predominantly Asian. I think for the most part they were just kind of minding their own business. But you just get the odd ones that are just like I said, it with these like, people with different kind of sort of what is it, like different cultures and stuff that they're trying to bring in their way of things, like Sharia law or whatever, and I'd have to have a look into like more of that, really. But yeah, it's horrible how like we have all these homeless people, and yeah, some homeless people are there by their own choices in life, whether that's just because like they decided that they didn't want to be bothered with it all anymore, but it's a sign of a failed economy. The fact that anyone would even want to get to that point, being homeless, shows how society has been failed. Hi, free tea. UK is boring, nothing happens. What do you mean? Well, I think that people are boring. I think that people are just kind of like in their own bubble, and just no one really kind of like seems to want to really sort of do anything much anymore. They're just kind of, you go out and it's just, everything just feels kind of, there's just no atmosphere. Lucy as well, it seems some are now indoctrinated with empathy for new people and forget the ones already here in need of the local empathy. What are you talking about? Are you talking about the empathy for people who have come here on these boats, you mean? Is that what we're talking about? The fact that we've got people looking out for like, oh, but we need to care about these people who are like, risking their lives they've risked their lives on these dinghies. We need to like help them out, but at the same time, it's like we're forgetting about the people that have built this country and that they've, to run this infrastructure. So yeah, like that everyone just looks so depressed. Probably a lot of people are skint at the minute. Yeah, I know. This is it. People are becoming more hostile and just kind of less approachable. So then that probably makes the whole dating thing worse as well, because think about it, that's like, how is it that anyone's going to be approachable if they're just miserable? You know, they don't come across as very inviting, do they? When they're all just looking down at their phones, just miserable all the time, and you get people doing just marching. I've noticed so many people just marching like they're in a rush to be somewhere all the time. Have you noticed that, guys? It just seems lately that just everyone's just in a rush. Either they're marching out or they're just zipping on their electric bikes or their scooters or whatever. Like, no one's just kind of like chilling and just kind of wants to hang around, it seems. They just kind of. So then it makes me not want to hang around because nobody else does. Like, I would probably be happy to hang around and just have fun, whatever, and just chat to random people if it felt like it was actually kind of, if they're actually approachable. But then I might not seem approachable because of the way I'm acting. So it just causes this kind of knock-on effect. We meant about crying wolf for attention. I don't know what we're talking about here, but yeah, everyone's just kind of skint, and it's like, but like, we need to come together. Like I said, how else are we going to actually solve anything if we don't come together and try and figure things out? We're all just kind of roll in this together, and we've got to try and come up with something better. Surely there's a better way to do things than what we're doing right now. We're just, you know what I mean? Like, we'll come up with a new system. Because I've talked about this to start a political movement, but no one gives a fuck. Because people would rather just complain and just be miserable than actually step up and let's make something happen. Not quite. Yeah. When you flee a country, you would send your family first, and the men stay and fight for their country. You would think so, but it's the opposite way around, isn't it? I guess it shows that men have just become kind of like, I don't know, that they're not really responsible then, are they? They're not staying and actually trying to sort their country out. But then again, you could say that about the people leaving the UK as well. A lot of people are leaving the UK to try and seek somewhere else to, like, for example, like the digital nomads. So not literally feeling that way. Scroll. I'm so confused on what you mean. Yeah, like people leaving, like, say, the UK to go to Romania or whatever, or go to Southeast Asia or South America or whatever, and to live a better life because they're sick of life in the UK for different reasons. So can you blame them? You could say, but I don't know. But then you could say that, well, if they're not going to stick around and fight for their country, then they're not a patriot and all that. But yeah. Free says, hello, people. I make a point no matter what to say a good morning just to bring a bit of light. Okay, cool. Thank you. Welcome in. How you doing? What's your name? Nice to meet you. I'm just like talking about the current situation, things really, but let's understand people wanting to flee a country to live a better life. Yeah. Some say it's selfish to want to stick around. So I understand people wanting to leave, kind of like a war-torn country or whatever. But then again, some people are saying that it isn't even as bad as what some people make it out to be. I don't really know, because I don't really know what's going on in some of these countries. But some say that they're economic migrants or whatever. But I think but it should all be done legally. It should be done with a vetting process, making sure that they're actually going to be bringing value to the country and stuff like that. Really, that's how I see it anyway. That whoever's coming in should be of a net positive to the country instead of a burden. But the political parties, they'll vote for, policies to basically keep them coming in, because then they'll get more votes from those groups of people. If you know what I mean? That's what they do. They'll bring more of these, sort of like in, so they get more of those votes. It's kind of like, you could say it's a thing with like America, where they're bringing more people in from across the seas or whatever to like affect the votes. But then some might say, well, that's all kind of like not relevant or whatever. But demographics can really affect votes and stuff. So I do think though that the whole kind of like political thing with like the two sides is all a distraction though. So this isn't to say that like that the politicians really have much control and things. It's just because at the end of the day, the powers that be are above them, and they like things like BlackRock and what have you, Vanguard, State Street, whatever these are all these companies that own on like a lot of shares in a lot of different businesses. You look at, they are on a percentage of Amazon, they own a percentage of all these different companies, but yet they hardly ever get talked about. So I think we should probably be trying to put more of our focus on that and have more people aware of these different things, because you never really hear about it in the media or whatever, in mainstream media at least anyway, that no one ever talks about it because it's not part of that agenda to talk about it, because it wouldn't be good to be publicized, would it? It's almost like they don't want anyone really knowing about it. But yeah, I understand too that it's not serving well to people of a country then bringing the crap over without doing it legally. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I have a bit more of a nuanced take on it, and like saying that, if they're coming over legally and that they are doing things properly, then cool. If they're bringing value. Now, some are concerned that that it's not really good for the economy because of, well, I remember we were talking, I don't know, I think someone else was talking about this, about how if we keep bringing these people in, then what's going to happen is it's going to like basically increase like prices on stuff, is what some people were suggesting. Like it could increase prices on housing, for example, because there'll be less supply of it. So if they're going to come, then they would have to be able to make more houses and stuff. And the thing is, this country is pretty overcrowded as it is. It wouldn't be good to like keep building on greenbelt land. We should be leaving that alone. So if we keep bringing more and more of these people in who actually give birth quite a lot, then the concern could be that we just end up taking up more and more of the greenbelt land. And it's like, one of the great things about this country is the countryside. And it's like, it's taking up more and more of the countryside. Keep building houses on it, keep expanding the cities. So, hello, Rebecca, how are you doing? You all right? It's like they keep like, expanding the cities and stuff to try and house more of these people. So, yeah. Because they can't just keep putting them up in hotels forever, can they? So at some point they would then have to like put them in some house, unless they're going to deport them. So that could really be how is that going to work for the economy? Like, is just wondering like what, because like I said, who's building who's going to be building these houses, and what land are we going to be putting it on and stuff like that. Because then the government would then have to like buy up more land potentially, so that they can then put more. So then they can build houses on the greenbelt land. Where are they getting this money from then? These are questions like they need to be asked and be like, what are we doing? More and more infrastructure needs to be built. So like, you're also going to have to build more roads. You're going to have to build more. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot that goes into it to try and house these people. It's gonna, and if they're just like, I don't know. What do you think? Parliament of all colours want this to be the focus whilst everything is pushed through unnoticed, i.e. facial recognition, digital ID and banking, freedom eroded. Yeah, I've only talked somewhat about this. I've talked about other issues like freedom of speech and the digital IDs, because my point is that they don't give a fuck about anybody, because their whole thing about the digital ID was apparently to protect children, but yet they're just going to like take people's like personal information from them, that they're forced to like give away information, which can then end up going to corporations. So, but I think the whole thing of like I said, with like BlackRock and whoever else that's behind all of whatever's going on, and like it's all this kind of like top-down power. And but yeah, I don't want to keep focusing on the migration thing, but yeah, it's just this whole like economy is just not working, and all the immigration I think is doing is just at this point is just tipping it over the edge. It was already bad enough to begin with all of the cost of living and all that, but it's like, why should things just keep going up in price? Like, well, they were saying it was because of Ukraine war, but then they also try and blame it on the coup, of 2020. They call it. I remember they called it the coup. It's digital ID is full control for your money. That's all. Yeah, to get what they need from you, your worth. Yeah, because your identity is like something that has a lot of value. It's like you could say, well, social media and all that, they're already taking like your personal data from you there, but people can choose what and not to like use. If they don't want to use things like Facebook or whatever that's taking your, and Instagram that are taking your personal data from you. But at this point, if people want to just like go on certain websites, and they can't do that unless they, but there is ways around it though. People have found ways around it, but certain people who are a bit older and a bit more kind of not as with technology, they're the ones that are going to be kind of like the victims in that. The ones that it's supposed to protect are the ones that are going to be more savvy to it and find workarounds, like they did with friggin' using some video game character to try and trick the system. So it goes to show that it's not really about protecting children, is it? It's about control. It's about taking people's rights away. But yeah, so like I said, with issues that are going on like that, it's just it's the shows that they don't care. It's they're just yeah. Hello, Zruknor. Okay. Thank you. I know every decision you make. Yeah. It's like people could just choose if they don't want to like go on Facebook or whatever, they can do that. But it's like, but it gets to a point where the government is then able to like access it. Well, I think it's all kind of like they're kind of like priming people for the next integration, you could say, like the next thing of like integrating the digital currency and the all that kind of stuff, because it's all power, but maybe people will have to go back to bartering or something. But is things gonna get like really ugly? Are people gonna really revolt against all this stuff? I don't know. How bad do things have to get before people actually say enough's enough? I remember talking to someone and they said things would have to get worse than North Korea for people to actually rise up. That's a pretty scary thought, because I've heard some pretty horrible things happen in North Korea. So to say that things would have to get even worse than that, wow, I don't know, because I think that this country has less of a tolerance, potentially. I mean, there was some people that rose up in 2020 when the overreaction to the coup thing, but it wasn't good enough, really. People were just kind of like scared into submission, going out and doing whatever, going out and protesting is not probably going to do a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. People complied with it. That was the problem. People complying with whatever BS rules. If people didn't take any notice, then they couldn't, implement those rules, because it's like that we gave them our consent basically by complying. What's that? You know, that digital ID protest in London, the organizers took the march a certain way past Scotland Yard, so they all passed the fixed facial recognition cameras mounted. They maybe will wake when they see the council tax yearly bill of 10K. Yeah, yeah, that would get. Oh, it's what is it now? For a lot of people, it's a couple of grand, if I remember. Um, yeah, it would have to get pretty bad. Same with like national insurance, if that got to like a point where it's like 10 grand or something. Yeah. Well, the council tax, it's like I don't think anyone that's earning under a certain amount should even be paying it. I think it should be like those fuckers who are like earning tons of money, they should be paying it. It's like I've never understood like why make it to where like those that are already struggling have to like pay any tax at all? Why not make the people that like earn over a certain amount pay it? Hello, Joe Boy. Um, yeah, Midsnir. Yeah, there was like 9 people got attacked apparently. I mean, I don't know like exactly the details of it, but the thing is that whether it is or not, but it's like there's been a lot of things that have led up to this point anyway. So I thought it was a good time to talk about this stuff, and people are getting sick of it all. Like there was that whole Southport thing, and at a certain point, are people just going to snap? But it's not just about the attacks; it's just everything. People are getting sick, but people are too afraid to do anything now. It's going to near on impossible to miss the cameras when the next reason to do it unveils itself. The child protection zone as an excuse. We would disagree with that apart from the wrong Odd Rungan. Yeah. Yeah, child protection is obviously like something that we need to have, but it's the way that they go about doing things that are unethical and actually cause more harm than good. Because that's the gaslighting that the government tried to do, was like say that, oh, so you're against, protecting children then, to try and kind of, well, not gaslighting, it's a sort of, it's a way of trying to shame, to make them feel bad. I think is what they're doing, is a shame tactic. But it's also probably to try and make those that support it, think that those people are bad. Yeah, because he doesn't want to upset his own race and community, is what we're saying. A dog walker was killed also for being native. Really? The hell? I know it's a sensitive topic, and then that London mayor denied the existence of ore gangs and saying, yeah, because he wouldn't want to like really sort of do that, because well, if you think about it, how many of his people are from that sort of ethnicity, right? How many of like, it's a quite a cosmopolitan capital, to say the least, isn't it? It's like very cosmopolitan, isn't it? So he would lose a large swath of his, his supporters, just by even admitting that there's such a thing. So yeah, they just have no backbone whatsoever. They care more about getting in power rather than principles. So I have no respect for any of these people. It's like, I think it was a thing like when they were trying to like tell people to like, trying to make people take their flags down or something like that, right? Trying to shame people who are just for putting up Union Jacks. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Jamie and Squirrel. They will never rat out a people of their faith. Yeah, exactly. I actually remember when Jack Straw was the MP of Blackburn. He was like, the thing is, he was a Labour MP, and he was elected. And a lot of the people that elected him would have been people of that ethnicity that, like, were in these veils. But he was not a supporter of these veils, these like face coverings, that because he thought it was a bit kind of it's like I don't know. I can understand like that people have certain faiths and stuff, but yeah, but it's all a bit kind of weird to be like covering your face like that. It just, yeah. But he didn't support that, and then he got loads of like attack for that. They could say at least he had some kind of backbone, that he didn't agree with all that stuff, but he lost a whole lot of support overnight, and they were like literally protesting at the community center, I think, right round the corner from where I used to live. It was mental, and but yeah, so this was like a guy who was, was Labour, so it was more left wing, I guess, and because he didn't support that, obviously, then he's going to get attacked, but yeah, but at least he didn't just. Now, you could say that, well, we should be respecting the religion, but then it's one of those things, isn't it, where religions can, and things like that can clash. But yeah, because on the one hand, I'm like, people should be able to just do what they want to. If that's their religion, they should be entitled to do that. But also, it could be seen as like disrespectful to the people here, and can even be scary to some people. Them hiding their face. It just all seems a bit kind of It's derogatory for women to have to hide for other men's gazes. Yeah, because that's where that whole thing come from. A lot of that religion was to kind of, I think a lot of it was like against women or something, and basically, which is kind of ironic because a lot of these woke women actually support Islam, which is for it's just ironic, isn't it? Because if they actually understood like what it's all about is actually against women, basically. Yeah, you shouldn't have to hide your faces just to stop other men from seeing you. You know, it's just because some other man sees you doesn't mean that you know that she's gonna cheat on the guy. A lot of it seems to be from like insecure men who like they're worried about you know I don't know, or maybe it's just someone who's just really possessive over his woman and no other man can look at his woman even, which I think is a bit kind of crazy, really. But because women have power of being the master empath, yeah, whatever, it's fucking bullshit. The whole thing of women being more empathic, I really just do not buy because when you see a lot of women in practice, they just don't seem to like practice what they preach, and just a lot of them are just like walking contradictions. I'm not saying this to attack every woman. Men also have problems with like in their own ways as well, like being kind of pretentious and just being kind of like everyone seems to have their own kind of almost everybody seems to have their own problems. And it's kind of pathetic, really, isn't it? Like it's just yeah. People can't just be like normal. Seems like everyone's almost everybody seems to be on like a degree of um shall we say like kind of what's the word like kind of neuroticism. It's like a spectrum. Only a certain number of people seem to just be kind of not very neurotic. In the occult, only women are seers. That's why men had to put them in fear to control. Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I notice a lot of these people you get like, for example, like Andrew Tate and these sort of people, where there's these old like double standards come from when things like it's okay for a man to cheat, but not okay for a woman to cheat. I don't think it's okay for anyone to be cheating. If you are in a committed relationship, then by cheating in any way, whether it's emotional cheating or whatever, it's disrespect. And that's something that we shouldn't be, you know, normalizing. We should be shaming that kind of behavior. It's like if you can't be loyal to somebody, then don't be with somebody, or just be open and just whatever you want to do. Just be in a situationship or whatever, if you can't be loyal and you're gonna act like you're gonna be loyal to them, and then that's your problem. You need to just not commit to someone in the first place then. So but the thing is that women or men will justify it by saying, oh, it's just physical cheating. It's not really cheating, it's just because there's no emotions involved. But I think that I would say that he has to be emotionally detached from his woman enough to even want to cheat with his dick or something, is how I see it. So to me, it's just as bad as some woman emotionally cheating in a way, because it's like what you're doing is just betraying your woman. You were probably never really that emotionally invested to begin with, is what I'd argue. Because who would even do that? Now, some might say, well, maybe he got drunk or something and things happened. But I would argue that all drinking's going to do is bring out in someone what they already had some intention of doing. It's just that someone might have ideas in their head about, oh, but what if I cheated tonight? But then they don't do it because they think it's wrong. All drinking does is just get rid of that inhibition. So you would just, why would you even have these thoughts to even do such a thing in the first place? It shows that you really weren't that invested to begin with, I think. Now, I could be wrong, but obviously there's going to be nuance and stuff, but I think in a lot of cases that, people just get selfish. People acting out of impulses, and drink is just a magnification of what's been suppressed. Yeah, exactly. It just brings out of them what they're emotionally trying to repress or suppress or whatever, trying to it's like, if you're not really feeling it with somebody that much, then you should just no, I was talking with someone about this and saying that, oh, well, if someone's in a relationship and they're having some issues and, but they'll just kind of do things behind that person's back and talk to somebody else. But do you really need to be doing that though? Because to me, it's maybe you should just cut it off with that person. Maybe you should just, if you're living with a person, just to leave that person and just kind of, I know it can be a bit tricky, but especially if there's kids involved, but you need to tell that person that this is kind of not something that we can do anymore, and we need to just call it a day because clearly this isn't working out. We're having problems, and that would be the kind of, to me, it's a bit coward. It's like being a bit of a coward to just kind of do things in secret and just because you're afraid of the consequences. You should just be open and say, this is not working. What you're afraid of? Are you afraid of being alone? Because if that's the problem, then you have issues that you need to deal with. What is wrong with you? If you're afraid to just be alone for a while, then you seriously have some issues then. If you need to be with someone at all, if you can't just leave that person and be alone for a while, you got to ask yourself, why can't I just be by myself then? Now, I understand sometimes it could be financial or whatever, but I mean, surely you could find a way to make things work by yourself if people are worried about, oh, well, we both joined up and whatever, but it's not an excuse to go and do things behind somebody's back, though. A soul without their ego at the forefront can be amicable. What do you mean? Well, the thing is that we need to have an ego, which is basically someone's sense of worth and self-esteem and all that. It's when it becomes inflated, I think, that it becomes a problem. I guess that's what you're saying, but where it's becomes too inflated to a point where they're unable to and I struggle with not being able to take criticism, but oftentimes that can come from a sense of needing to be perfect or whatever. The thing is, nobody's perfect, and sometimes it feels like it comes from a place of condescension, whatever the word is, condescending. That's they're trying to be oh, I know more than you, and you're just somebody that's you should take my advice. And sometimes people put things across in a way that seems like that, and I think it would help if people could try and bring it across in a better way, but sometimes you know what I mean, it's just we've got to just swallow our pride, and just accept that we may be doing things wrong or whatever, and Sometimes people don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear that they're, that maybe the way that they're doing life or whatever, or business or whatever, that they may not be doing it the right way. Hello, Richard. How you doing? Hope you're well. So we have to be able to swallow our pride and just kind of, accept when we're not doing things the right way, and maybe there is another way to do things. Takes a certain level of humility, and that's the thing that people seem to lack a lot of the time, is accepting when you're, yeah, you know what I mean. It's anyway. So I hope everyone's doing well today. So I'm just saying, there was this, this event that's happened on a train. 9 people been injured apparently. So we'll just see if we can find more about it, because it says about left 9 injured. Thankfully, it doesn't sound like anyone's passed away, but it says 9 have been hospitalized with life-threatening. So I have to see what happens with that, but thankfully nothing. Hopefully nobody's going to pass, but fingers crossed. It's just horrible stuff. So yeah, it's just stabbing happened, and yeah. So let's just have a look at where's the news section? Where is it? Hang on, yeah, news. Here we go. So it says 10 people with 9 with life-threatening injuries. So 10 people hospitalized apparently. Well, it said 9, but it says 10 on here, but 9 with life-threatening injuries. So, but the question is, what is the ethnicity? It's most likely, yeah. Does it say who's done it or anything? Does it say well, it's London. Hang on, it's in. Is it in London or something? Hang on. Let's have a look. See what it says about that. Who was it that did it then? Do they know? But it's just horrible to even have to go through that. If you're on the train and you're seeing that stuff happening, and that couldn't leave you with fucking trauma, that shit, They released yesterday in Afghanistan. Well, is that where they're from? Let's have a drink. 2 been arrested, right? So are they some Islam terror group or something? But imagine you're on that train and you're seeing that shit going down. It's probably gonna fucking scar you for life, that shit. And you're probably gonna be afraid to even do anything at that point. So it isn't just the fact that there's been 9, 10 people been injured. The fact that all those people are gonna be fucking fearing for their fucking life. They're probably gonna need some fucking therapy after this shit, So all these people that are trying to downplay it all and try to fuck you, it's just it's just absolutely just horrific. And this isn't just an isolated incident either. It's just something really needs to be done. But at what point are people going to actually British nationals? What, are they actually the ones that have done it, or what? So it's not a Muslim gang, is it then? Something like that? I don't know, but whoever's done it is just fucking But whether it is one of those or not, there's been a lot that has led up to this point, and of a lot of these gangs and stuff. Not just stabbings, but according to the news, right? Okay, but what are they doing that for? I don't know. It's just because the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, it's probably another one of these events, but I don't know. we'll have to see more about it. But yeah, but I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be more stuff like this happen, and yeah, it is scary, isn't it? The people that it's happened to, it's like it's going to leave them scarred, and it's like it doesn't seem like there's anything really being done about it. Whether it's you know Islam terror or whatever, it's like there's this fucking justice system and all that is fucked. You know, like it's way too like lenient on actual crime, whereas it's harsh on things that are like. But I just think that like yeah, another horse went out, a fiery red one, and to him he who sat on it, it was granted to take peace from the earth, and that they would slay one another, and a great sword was given to him. Right. So it's like I mean, let's have a look and um. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. So it says here, yeah, it was at Huntingdon Station or something. Um, Speculation about the ethnicity, but there is no verified information available from official sources or reputable news organizations. Counterterrorism police are assisting with the so is this like been updated since that or something? UK police detained 2 suspects after train stabbings. Let's have a look at this. The fuck says I'm not authorized to view this page, huh? But we'll find out more about it though, and obviously we don't want to jump the gun and say that. Hang on, is it Manchester Evening News? Is something on there? Hang on, let's see some more about it. Yeah, I'm just gonna have a look more into it or something like that. Another horse went out. I just read that one. So it's yeah, let's try and find more about the ethnicity. Is it actually British nationals then? Because most of the time it isn't. I don't think. See if there's any news come up about that then. It says here 2 British nationals arrested on suspicion of attempted unaliving after train stabbing. So it's just so they're arrested on suspicion or something. So yeah. Was it a 32-year-old black British man and a 35-year-old British man of Caribbean? Oh, so they're not actually. So how is that British? How is that a British national then? Is it because he's born in Britain or something? So let's see. Yeah, because I remember there was that guy that was it. What is it called? Lee Rigby. And well, I think they were like African or something, but so they were born here. But when I was thinking it meant you meant something like anyway, but my point still stands that like we're we need to just like be very careful about sort of who we're letting into this country, and some of it's already like too late. But yeah, some of it's just but they open the floodgates and and that happens. Yeah. But people are just getting sick of all the. It's like I said, this is like you could say like a sort of, just a small part of the bigger picture that's like, this country has just gone to shit. The last few decades, just, you look at how things were, you look at how people were, or that everything was just thriving, and back when, like, it's like, look at how towns are now. Look at the ghost towns, and you think, like, at a certain point, are people just going to like rise up and say enough's enough? We ain't putting up with this bullshit. We ain't putting up with all of the bullshit that's like been happening in this country and stuff. It's just not right, is it? I mean, the people who are like born in this country, they pay their taxes, and they're being treated like second-class citizens in a lot of cases. Like, unless you're some like elite or something, then they just treat you like shit. Interesting that the British Transport Police have stated that at this stage there is nothing to suggest the attack was a terrorist incident. Well, what the hell is it then? What the fuck is it then if it's not a terrorist incident? That's like total gaslighting. I mean, to say that it's not a terrorist incident. Oh yeah, so someone just goes and stabs like 10 people, and then, or 2 people go and stab 10 people, and that's not a terrorist incident. I mean, of course they're not going to say like, because it's like, it's going to make them look bad or something, They're so pathetic. I mean, but yet they'll fucking try and, put someone in prison over a tweet. Like, it seems like they're more interested in that than actually dealing with the actual problems of the UK. Fuck me. Anyway, thank you for the 19 likes. Let's get to 20 likes real quick. You just can't make this shit up, can you, guys? Can you? But we just expected you just like shut up and put up and whatever. Counter-terrorism policing was initially supporting the investigation, but the terror attack protocol, Plato, was later rescinded. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like the police just like don't actually give a fuck about actual real crimes, and then they'll focus on, look what happened back in 2020 when they were arresting random people at protests. Yet they were doing fuck all about any actual crime. They were letting in all these illegals on boats just to like take from this country, and yet it's like their priorities are completely like messed up, and it's all by design. They know what they're doing. Like I said, with the whole thing with like Boris Johnson and all that, and these Muppets, they all know what they're doing, really. They're not that fucking stupid. Fuck me. But like I said, we shouldn't be too focused on the whole kind of racing. I think because terror, whatever, bad things happen from all races, of course. I think that just the whole justice system, the whole system in general is fucked. The healthcare system is fucked. They're trying to privatize the NHS, and they've been trying to do that for a while. And I think in a large part it's already privatized, isn't it? Private companies are already a big part of the healthcare system already. it's already pretty much half privatized already. So like it'll get to a point where it completely gets privatized, and then I think we're just going to be screwed, aren't we? Because I did think that maybe it would be good if it was privatized, but the problem is if it's in the hands of just like greedy elitist people, then that's never going to go well, is it? But it's like the NHS has been going downhill, but then it's like to a point where people are saying, "Oh well, it's because of the NHS," because it's I don't know. Like everyone's going to have their own take on that, but yeah, but we all need to just kind of work the hell up and realize that it's the whole system is needs to be completely dismantled at this point. Like we need some form of like a revolution or something to completely like start from the ground up. I think people are afraid of that because they'll see it as like a step back or something. I think that's why a lot of people are just kind of resistant to like change because they see it as a step back. You need to find a famous black and white film clip of the Fabian Society member explaining their ultimate goal and then compare it to what's happening in Clear Sight. Yeah, there's been a lot of like things like how there was like George Orwell's 1984 and how that predicted so many things. And that was written back in, was it 1948 or something? Which is a few decades before it actually was about 30, hang on, yeah, like 36 years before it actually came. Sorry, no, hang on. No, I was thinking 1984. Oh, no, sorry, it was several decades before it actually happened. I mean, which is, kind of like, who knew about this stuff? How did they predict all that stuff? The dystopia? Were they just some kind of like psychic or something, or just have some insight? I don't know. But I was a Fabian member, right? But there's a lot of these things where you think to yourself, well, yeah, they're not, that they were actually being serious about their plans and stuff, and seeing how things are going, and it's no longer some conspiracy theory. It's like, of course, some conspiracy theories are ridiculous. And I'm not going to get into arguments about that because it just ends up dividing the room. But basically, there are certain things that we can all agree on that, yeah. But we're all just being kind of like, I don't know, just trapped like cattle, basically, in this. It's like we're just being farmed or something, farmed for our energy and our, data and all that. Hi, mayonnaise. You're a man or a woman, yes. Boy or a girl, yes. Lad or lady, yes. Oh, goodness. Femme or male, yes. Yeah, so like, who's still here anyway? I didn't really expect it was going to be so busy this morning, but it's been a good live. So I guess with the topic of it it's actually kind of attracted more people and stuff. So again, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. I'm live every day, so yeah. I don't know. It's just I'm not really bothered about these comments, but yeah, I guess they're maybe just a bit bored or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like to be a doomer and think the worst case scenario, but sometimes it's like we have to think about things objectively. We can't just like oh everything's gonna be okay and like pretend like that. You know what I mean? Because it's not, is it? Yeah, all these people out there that just act like everything's gonna be fine and oh don't worry, it's you know what I mean? Everything's not fine, is it? The people who that think that everything's fine are usually the ones like this ivory tower kind of people that don't really empathize with people's problems and things. They just kind of, uh, okay, yeah, this mayonnaise person. Can you just like maybe like just give it a rest? Like what you're trying to achieve here, But but yeah, basically, like when people being against terrorism is like kind of seen as racist or something, and like, hang on, what's this? Someone put something. Diabetes has nothing to do with your body fat. Insulin resistance is what leads to it. Apparently, this and then there's something. You get diabetes by having insulin resistance that occurs when your glycemic levels are always high and you release constant insulin. So body fat has nothing to do with you having. Well, oh, Ariana, well, isn't it like been proven that body fat actually increases your risk of diabetes? I think they found stuff like having things such as a fatty liver and things like that. As I'm not actually not sure about fatty liver, but like there's things that happen in the body that um yeah. So when you decrease your body fat, then yeah, it seems to improve diabetes. So it's like there's a lot of people saying that insulin resistance causes you to get fat. So if insulin resistance causes you to get fat, then therefore being fat is I don't know. It's like there's a lot of this kind of like health at every size bullshit, and people trying to act like it doesn't really make much of a difference, if any. Um, Jamie, I think it's too close to home, especially with you being in York and me. And what the fuck? What are you on about, Jeffrey? What's going on? Um, right. So, what's horrific? So, we're saying about like, so yeah, so losing body fat is it can help with diabetes. It all has to do with like, yeah, the insulin resistance can actually be caused partly by having high amounts of body fat. I think this has to do with the body being less likely to want to. Um, I think it has to do with like I'm not 100% sure, but like there could be some mechanism behind it or something. But basically, when you have too much body fat, it can put stress on your body's functions. Like things like your hormones can be suppressed and out of whack. Um, so, but yeah, it said that excess body fat can lead to insulin resistance because I guess it's because like your body doesn't really want to keep growing when it's like in a hypercaloric state, it's like it then shuts down signals to grow. I think that might be what it is. Which can then like become a kind of like something that can be a bit difficult to get out of, because then when you're insulin resistant, then you could find it hard to exercise. But you have to just do things slowly if you're trying to like reverse that. But yeah, high body fat is correlated, at least anyway. Because I mean, I don't think there's that many people who are like in shape that actually have diabetes, unless they're genetically predisposed to like type 1 diabetes or something. I don't think it's really that common. It's not something I really hear about a lot, of some in shape person, like, say, for example, a marathon runner. I don't think it's very common that they would end up with diabetes, and yet they're probably eating a ton of sugar. So, which is probably one of the worst foods you can eat, really. But even they're not getting diabetes. So I think a lot of it has to do with being in a hypercaloric state where you're putting on unnecessary amounts of body fat. Yeah, there's different types of diabetes. Like I said, type 1 is going to be more genetic, but it's less likely that if someone's got, I remember that you were saying that you were worried about getting diabetes with having too much body fat or something. But yeah, it's said to have gone up quite a lot in the last couple of decades, just from a lot of it is people's diets, as well as just not being active enough. I think if you active and you have, higher levels of body fat, then being active might protect you somewhat. It may counter some of that bad effects of being overweight, but it's probably best to try and do both, to try and be active and keep your body fat at a reasonable level, is what I would probably say. But there is somebody out there, like this fitness influencer called Sporty Beth, who talks about how just being fat on its own isn't that bad or something. And I do think she is kind of downplaying it a bit, because I can't see it really being that good for you to be carrying that much body fat. And she doesn't admit to having some kind of ED in the past, and she's still dealing with that, where she went from being like in shape to then being kind of what she is now. And she used to be like that now, so she's kind of flip flopped. But I think it's kind of a dangerous message to try and sort of make out like there's really not that much wrong with it. I can't see it being good in the long run. Yeah, exercising can help, but some people are also going to be more predisposed to getting diabetes at some point. But being kind of healthy is going to just like mitigate the risks somewhat. So it's just, I don't know, to be at a point of like, basically like, yeah, you're at obesity, then I mean, if you're a bit overweight, then you have a bit too much body fat, then that's not really going to do that much, especially if you're like active and you're just living a generally healthy lifestyle. But when it gets to like extremes, then it's not good, is it? So let's not kid ourselves, shall we? So people trying to like gaslight you about, like, she's literally carrying almost 2 times the body weight that she should be, which is a lot. Like, I think she's like 230 some pounds. She should probably be around maybe 140 or something like that for her height, and being a woman. It's like, There's no way she should be carrying that much body weight. Anyway, but yeah, just I think she'd probably be a lot better at running as well if she'd actually lose some of that. If she wants to be better overall on her friggin' fitness, then losing body fat is good for that as well. Yeah, it's said to, slightly reduce strength on some exercises because of leverages and stuff, but overall I think you'd probably feel a lot better, especially on things such as vertical jump height and your running speed and things like that. So like I'm more likely to get type 2 because I had pregnancy diabetes. Oh yeah, I've heard about, what do they call it, like do they call it something like natal diabetes or something like that? Yeah, I've heard like, yeah, it's a sort of my daughter is diabetic and skinny, bless her. Right. So how is that? Is that type 2 then or something? How does that even happen? Like, I don't know. But like 99% of the time, I think that it's diet related and lifestyle related. Hi, ODXXU02. How you doing? Welcome in here. What's your name? We're on 19 likes, guys. So anyway, but I don't think it's really that common for someone to be skinny and diabetic. I don't know. But if there's something fucked up in pregnancy, then that could happen, I guess. But someone wouldn't likely to just go and develop it if they stayed skinny, even if they, they didn't necessarily eat the best food, but they were healthy and they were active. Because, like I said, one of the biggest causes of insulin resistance and diabetes is being overweight. And yeah, depends on the diabetes. Yeah, but there's people trying to act like body weight and whatever doesn't factor into it, but it absolutely does. But I'm pretty sure, like, if you're having a lot of extra body fat as well, there's also the issue of potentially having joint issues as well from putting all that pressure down. It's like a lot of it's what they call like inert tissue. It's basically dead weight. So, for example, if they're even just walking around, it can doing a lot of that. It's not great, is it? Type 2 can be changed with better in diet. Unfortunately, type 1 is for life. Yeah. Yeah. Some people can even like reverse type 2, I think, with like lifestyle choices, or at least kind of reverse it to pre-diabetes or something. Well, pre-diabetes is insulin resistance, isn't it? When you've not quite gone into diabetes, but you're on the way there. But I thought type 2 diabetes was insulin resistance. But I guess it's just like what they call like a subclinical form of insulin resistance. I don't know, but I guess it's to a point where medication isn't really necessary at that point. But then when you get to type 2, that's when they diagnose you. You need to, some of them go on like metformin or something to help them with their symptoms. But yeah, it's shit, isn't it? But I was actually talking to someone and type 1 diabetes, and he's had it from like birth, so it's like they can't do anything. They have to take insulin, and I thought this thing that if you had type 1 that you would just die straight away if you didn't take insulin, but it turns out that it's not that simple. Like you could live for years without even knowing you have it or something, and then yeah. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing well today. Thank you all for joining me. But yeah, it's just shit, isn't it? You think to yourself, where is fucking light in all of this, you know? Why is he giving people type 1 diabetes, you know? I might make a video and just yeah, because I'm like, people say that it's people's will that, this world that's like, what the reason why it is the way it is, but it's like, you've got literally you've got children dying from cancer, you've got people get, crippled and not their own fault. You think to yourself, what kind of fucking God has created this shit? People act like, oh no, that Satan did all this. But I thought God was all powerful. Doesn't that contradict the whole thing of, if he's so powerful, then what the fuck? Why is this allowed to happen? Oh, but he's given people free will. He's done this and that, but it's like none of it makes any sense. This whole religion shit doesn't make any sense. A lot of these teachings that they put out. Now I know, like, not every religious person believes in those things, but you've got like people worshiping a God that seems like a complete psychopath. He seems very narcissistic to me. Constantly needing praise. You have to pray to him 5 times a day or whatever, you know? If you want to go to heaven, you have to pray to God every day for the rest of your life. You have to pray to him when things are not going right. Otherwise, he won't help you. You know? Like, kind of psychopath would do that. Is that the God of the Old Testament or something? But then people argue about Old and New Testament and all that, you know? Sounds like he's a psycho. Is like the dark triad. He's got the dark triad traits: narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism, all rolled into one. That's God. Maybe not Machiavellianism, because I guess that's like what is Machiavellianism again? But it's definitely got narcissistic and psychopathic traits or something. So yeah, Machiavellianism. Let's have a look. Yeah. Machiavellianism. So maybe I need to sort out like the titles of the live streams and stuff to attract more viewers and stuff, because I noticed that, yeah, we're getting more viewers than regular. So here we go. Machiavellianism is a personality trait characterized by manipulativeness, deceitfulness, a focus on self-interest, and a cynical view of others. Yeah, so does anyone know anyone that has those kind of traits? I suppose God can't really have that kind of trait, but unless he sees everyone as cynical of his own creation or something, which is crazy to me, because if God was so powerful, wouldn't he create everyone to be perfect? Because by creating imperfect people, therefore, to then condemn them to hell for eternity sounds crazy to me. Oh, but you give them free will, but by doing that, you are actually being a terrorist by giving someone the ability to do harm, but then not take any responsibility for that. Hi Chevy, how you doing? Yeah, I mean, like, whatever you're kind of like, sort of, whatever you identify as, I'm not like bothered. I just kind of, yeah, like, as long as people are respectful, then okay. What's going on? Just, yeah, just talking about like how the God of the Bible and how it doesn't make any sense. There's way too many contradictions, and I don't know where I'm going with that really. But yeah, I'm probably gonna get off pretty soon. I think, but I've been enjoying it. So let's try and get to 20 likes, guys, before I finish. We're on 19 likes. I want to see it get to a round number. So let's get it to 20 real quick, guys. That would be great. I might do a like workout this afternoon or something. I'm gonna try pull-ups again today, I think. See if I'm any better than I did yesterday, because I was really struggling yesterday with it. I think because I wasn't fully recovered. So I find that unless I'm like fully recovered, then my performance is. I mean, obviously it's kind of like obvious, really, because it's like, of course, your performance isn't going to be optimal if you're not fully recovered. It'd be like a Mike Israetel thing where it's like, strength is less when performing when sore or something like that. It'd be like some like, well, duh, It's like Mike Israetel being like, the sky is blue or something. Yeah, we already know that. Him saying like that leaner, stronger athletes perform better or something like that. So, well, duh, you know, doesn't take a fucking. It's like, oh, more muscly people are generally going to be stronger. Well, yeah, of course. But then his defense was, oh, but not everybody, knows that. And it's like some people seem to think that there's no correlation between muscle mass and strength. Well, they're fucking stupid then, aren't they? Because mass moves mass. If you have more muscle mass, you're gonna be stronger. You know, you're gonna have more force potential if you have more muscle. Duh. Like, it's such a stupid thing to like think that. I don't know. It can't. It's like, well, of course you're going to be stronger on average than someone that's gonna, that's like weak and skinny, whatever. Now you could argue, oh, but you could be training slow twitch and training more for endurance or something, and you build muscles more for endurance rather than for strength. But on the average, you're gonna people are going to be stronger when they get bigger. When people try and build their muscles, trying to max that out, they're going to be doing progressive overload, which is going to get you stronger. So I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure that out. Like, yeah, there's some pretty strong, like skinny guys out there who are like they can, deadlift fairly heavy weights, but on average, the bigger guys are gonna outlift them. It's as simple as that. It's just, it's physics. More muscle mass equals more force potential. So, like, you'll see these strongmen that, even though, yeah, they have a lot of fat on them, but they also have a lot of muscle mass. Like, they probably wouldn't be able to lift that much if they didn't have all that muscle mass to back it up, because there's more potential to contract more muscle and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, duh, it's obvious. It's obvious that you're gonna have more force if you have bigger muscles, and people who are leaner are going to be able to jump higher. Well, duh, because you're going to have better power to weight ratio if you can. Hello, Yogi, how you doing? Have you seen any of that stuff, Yogi, about Mike Uzratel and his friggin' joke of a PhD? So many people just have held him in a high regard as this like expert. Hello, the cool kid. How you doing? I hope you're well today. Thank you for joining me. It's just absolutely just like ridiculous. Some of the stuff he was saying, like stating the obvious. Leaner people can jump higher on average. Well, of course. What you expect? And then saying stuff like more muscle, usually equals more strength. Are you getting a drum set for this year? Yeah. All right. So you're going to play drums then? I tried playing drums actually, and I actually was surprised how quickly I got to it. Okay, take care, Richard. But there's this thing of like people being held in a high regard because they've got a PhD. But what it's exposed is that just because someone says they've got a PhD doesn't mean that they're actually reputable. And there seems to be a shift in like kind of authorities and stuff like that, and it's good. It's good to see things are going in a good direction, because people used to think of like science-based lifting and all that as some kind of superior thing, but turns out a lot of them are a bunch of charlatans. They're a bunch of grifters, because they're all trying to promote their own program. They're all trying to compete to promote their own program. So what they'll do is they'll use science-based as a marketing strategy, lean heavily on whatever credentials that they have, when a lot of this stuff's just gimmicky and doesn't actually provide you really any measurable better results. It's just pathetic. Because the thing is, when you're so focused on small details, all these people end up neglecting the more important things, because their mental bandwidth is so taken up by, I've got to make sure to get this maximum stretch. So I've got to try and make sure to angle the fucking bench press in such a way that maximizes the fucking stretch. Hello, Wasamatsu. How you doing? Hope you're well today. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I've got to make sure to angle the bench in such a way to hit those upper pecs, and it's got to be at that such an angle. It doesn't fucking matter. It's like, you should have maybe a few, some different angles, but like things don't have to be so specific and fine tuned and whatever. No one's going to really notice any difference. Like, it's it's all gimmicky. You see them doing goofy ass exercises. Like, have you seen that one with Jeff Nippard on the floor doing some fucking? It looks like some kind of cable pull down or something with one arm, and it's just cringe. And there's people that suck up that shit, but he's been called into question as well. And he was putting out dodgy like courses on, doing, I think, bench pressing and stuff. And it's like, they've all basically been outed as like grifters at this point, a lot of them. You've got people like Jeff Cavalier as well. He got exposed for doing fake weights a few years ago, but unfortunately, people seem to forget about that. I suppose a lot of new people come on the scene and whatever, and I don't know. A lot of people just end up forgetting, and it just, But Jeff Cavalier is just, well, he's mainly upper body. I saw like how he's got quite skinny legs actually. So his whole kind of like selling point is like his abs and stuff. But there's people questioning if he's even natural. Hello, Jolie Travels. How you doing? Hope you're well today. But like, whether he's natural or not, I don't know if like everybody could really maintain his level like of leanness year round. I think most people probably couldn't quite maintain that level year round. They're probably going to run into some issues with their hormones and stuff. I think either he's got good genetics for like being that lean, or he's taking some, or it's just that. I mean, I've heard he's very restrictive with his diet and stuff. And if that's the case, then again, it's not sustainable. And him trying to promote that level, I think, is just can be dangerous, really, because then it's going to kind of have people think that they're fat unless they're sub 10% body fat, which is just crazy. I mean, I don't know. It's just very kind of misleading a lot of people. Like, I just don't think it's really like necessary to go to those extremes. But a lot of these people like overcomplicate things. It's like you get people like Jeff Cavalier like overcomplicating exercises, and there was this other guy called Ryan Humiston as well. He was like that as well, with being very specific and just do the fucking exercise. It just yeah, and you can just do a simple bicep curls or whatever, do hammer curls. You don't need to worry about oh, this version hits the long head better, and it's like the thing is, it probably doesn't matter as much as what these people make out to say, right? Okay, thank you, Wassam Mattel. Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you for the 23 likes, everybody. I will be getting off in a minute, but because I'd have a rant about the whole fitness, science based bullshit that's not actually science based. And the thing is, it's like a lot of it's cherry picked and just whatever course that they're selling at that time, you know. And they'll keep changing up their narrative when it suits them. We just have to take their word for it. And we're not going to take their word for it because I think they're being deceptive, and yeah. And you've got like Mike Israetel just going on friggin' podcasts that are just going to agree with him. They're just a bunch of like, you know what I mean? Like, they have no backbone. They're not going to go and say, well, hang on a minute. You're saying all this stuff, but like you're this and that. And it's like, to try and pick on some of the things that he said. They won't do that. They're just going to agree and nod along. And it's like, that's boring. If you're going to go on like a podcast or something, you should be able to, go on and have that person on and sort of like say, hang on, you just said that and I don't agree with it. So there's someone called Chris Williamson. I think he's better in that way because he'll actually kind of not just agree with everything that the person said. So I'd have more respect for someone like that. So remember, he had Hamza on. I think it was the second time he had him on, and he was like saying, don't you think that it could be a bit irresponsible to be like putting out all these things as facts, and then just to backtrack on it and then say something else and contradict it. So he keep changing his opinions on things. So it's just going to lead people down the wrong path, and it's dangerous. Hi, Grind. How is everybody doing today? Let's get 25 likes. We're on 24 likes now. Thank you, everybody. But yeah, it's just there's this whole drama going on with Hamza as well. I don't know. It's just it's a sign of the times with the whole like self-improvement stuff, and everything just seems to be imploding right now. Hi, Adnan. How you doing? I hope you're well. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. Like the whole self-improvement thing, it just all seems to be imploding, doesn't it? like it's just everything's all just kind of getting destroyed. Science-based fitness, or whatever you want to call it. Science-based bodybuilding, not science-based fitness. That's different. Science-based bodybuilding is a joke. The self-improvement thing is also a joke. There's a lot of parallels between those. There's a lot of like cult leaders, and it's like almost like a mafia, where it's like if you try and like criticize them, then they'll get their cronies to go and like attack you or something. Hello, Flora. How you doing? Hope you're well today. Good to see you again. How are you doing? Nice to have you here. So it's just all a bit of a joke, isn't it, really? But yeah, I've never really took too much notice to like the science-based stuff. I go with what's intuitive to me. Whatever I feel like is working, I'm going to continue to do that. I don't listen to people saying, "Oh, you should train a certain number of times a week, a certain whatever." It's like I do things my way, even if it isn't the most optimal. But it's just the way that I want to do it, a way that's sustainable for me. But by trying to tell people, "Oh, you have to do things this certain way," and then I don't like that. It's just it's very dogmatic, and it's like when people say, "Oh, you have to do this particular exercise for this muscle," but then there are other exercises that can be as effective, and certain people are going to benefit more from that because maybe certain people might find a certain exercise uncomfortable. Like, for example, some people might think dips are uncomfortable or something if they do it the wrong way or something. People are like, "Oh, you have to do full range of motion and all this stuff." But then for some people, that stretch might be very uncomfortable and they might just, you know what I mean? And even in some cases, people find it can be dangerous. Well, not like they can they end up getting like problems, like injuries start to happen, like repetitive strain injury. So it's all about finding what's right for your anatomy, and you know we don't know unless we try. We've got to experiment with things and see what works for us. And that's what people are afraid to do, is experiment on their own body, see what you can tolerate. Because no two people are alike. So I've come to realize. So to try and, it's like when people were saying things like sit-ups are bad or crunches are bad. Well, actually, it depends. Some people may find that they have some issues. But for me personally, I've done crunches a lot, and I don't really think that they're bad for me, at least anyway. At least not the way that I do them. So there's a lot of like dogma out there of like people saying that a certain exercise is bad, or I don't agree with that. And okay, yeah, it might be bad for certain people, but there's this whole black and white, one size fits all narrative, and we've got to be careful with that. I just say be cautious. If you're feeling like something is starting to cause you any kind of strain, then stop it and do something else. Find another thing. But if you like doing crunches, I don't see why you shouldn't do them. Yeah, if there's any sort of like sign of anything happening, then maybe you should stop doing that. But I don't see any reason why you shouldn't do it if you're healthy and that you don't find any strain and stuff. I think sometimes the risks of an exercise get blown out of proportion and people are scared into not doing it. Now, yeah, there is other ways of training your abs as well, like anti-extension. I mean, anti-extension is like when you're doing things like like holding like a plank or doing something like a hyper extension, like a say when you're doing like a ab wheel rollout or something. But basically, it's like you're trying to stop your back from basically, from like kind of trying to keep it in a straight line, basically. So what I'm saying is like just find the exercise you enjoy. If you're having any issues, then okay, try something else. But yeah, things like ab wheel rollouts can be good as well. And I've never tried it, but might have to try it with just like doing it with like the knees on the floor first, so you get good with it. Because I think it's meant to be a lot harder than it looks. Because it looks like it shouldn't be that difficult, but there's a lot of like instability, and like it's all about trying to keep your core tight, and adding in that instability can sort of make it that much more difficult. But I'd say using things like unilateral exercises are good for improving core stability as well. So having a more functional core. So you could argue in that way that crunches might not be the most functional exercise necessarily. Then they can develop those outer ab muscles, but they don't really do much at developing the internal muscles. Whereas certain exercises may be better overall. So I could argue it from that point of view, that things like anti-extension exercises that promote ab stability and trying to keep a neutral spine and things like that could be more effective overall by developing the overall ab muscles, being like your abs, your obliques, and your transverse abdominis, which is something that is more trained with more of like the stability exercises, like about trying to keep your, well, not just stability, but also like anti-extension as well. So I think we should be trying to train our core more when doing just everyday exercises like push-ups and things like that, instead of just letting yourself kind of sag, which is not great. But yeah, so just a simple, push-ups could be like an ab exercise, kind of like you're doing a plank whilst you're doing it. That can help just kind of give you a better just better ab development overall. So yeah, it's like hollow body holds, another one as well. That's just like another sort of like one where you isometrically train your abs, but it all comes down to doing what you enjoy. If you enjoy doing crunches, then I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that. Hello, Antron Woods. Good to see you again. How have you been? It's been a while. Seen quite a few faces in here today, so yeah, I will be going pretty soon. But yeah, I know I keep saying that, but I should have gone ages ago, really. But it's been a good chat today. So, but what I'm saying is, there's a lot of dogma out there about exercise selections and things like that, and also there's a lot of dogma about things such as like these alpha male grifters, and they'll say stuff like where they've not really had much life experience, and then try to kind of I suppose I could be a bit guilty sometimes, but we have to be careful not to just like put out certain statements if it's not from life experience. So yeah, because you'll get someone like Hamza, for example, who's basically gotten probably most of his knowledge just from these few books that he's read, and without actually having okay, Michael, without actually having much life experience. Yeah, he's got some life experience, but it's like he was trying to talk about long-term relationships without having that experience, and you could say that that is not something that he should really be talking about. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that, but do you think someone should talk about these things if they don't have much experience in it? Because he's not been able to really kind of maintain a relationship, it seems, for very, very long. So I remember he was talking about things like, I remember he said stuff like that you shouldn't really be spending a lot of time with your lover or something like that, which I'm like, well, I don't see how that's meant to work really, because in order to develop something like that, it requires time, it requires attention. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know really. He was saying something like that your lover should not be your best friend. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, it goes back to the point I said earlier about. I think there's certain times where you should be able to feel vulnerable with your partner, but it's like if you're gonna be like end up living with your partner and end up getting married to them, have children, it's like, well, of course you're gonna have to like spend a lot of time with them. Like to me, it almost just seems as though he just wants to like not spend time with his partner or something, or I don't know why he's saying stuff like that. I don't know. I don't really understand like that whole thing of um what's that? Sorry, Michael. I don't know how things like that would ever really work out if without a lot of time together. And I don't know if he changed his opinion since because I don't watch him really. It's just he was changing his opinion a lot on things. But it's like you build a connection over time spent together, and of course you don't want to be together every single minute of the day. There's times where even if you are in the same place with each other that you do your own things and you don't have to always entertain each other, but you need to have a certain amount of time to be able to just kind of bond and sort of build that connection over time. I understand the whole concept of distance makes the heart grow fonder and all that, but I think we need to learn to give each other some space as well, but also too much space can lead to feelings of neglect and just like things can just kind of fizzle out that way because there's a certain balance that needs to happen, I believe. But then again, maybe I shouldn't be talking about this stuff. But like, from my own kind of thoughts on it all, is that your partner should probably be they should be your priority. Because if you're going to actually have children with that person, then that then becomes the priority. Is that family becomes a priority above everything else? So your family should be your priority. So, I mean, how can they be a family member if you're just going to like neglect them most of the day? I don't see how that's meant to really work. Open to the same. What do you mean? So, like, do you need to have your bonding time and stuff, and but yeah, people think that a relationship is built on having tons of space, but then it's actually built on having shared experiences together and things to bond over, memories, building, creating memories together. It's not built on neglect and there is some people out there that weirdly will just kind of fall in love with you more by neglecting them. It's a weird thing, but I think a lot of it comes down to like abandonment and issues and like things like daddy issues or whatever, that maybe they were abandoned as a child. And then it's like a sort of, you could say it's like a trauma response or something, but I don't know if that's the right word for it. But like they are attracted to someone who isn't really giving them much attention because that is what they got from like their own father. So that could be part of it. Hi Sherbo, how you doing? Hope you're well. Is Daisy May live today? She seems to be getting a lot of views on some of her lives lately, I've noticed, especially the ones where she's live on the beach. 29 likes, thank you. Let's get 30 likes before I finish. I was going to get off ages ago, but I thought I'd just keep going because it's been going all right. And I'm kind of like a person that, like, if something's going well, I'll keep going with it. But if something's not, then I just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But it's been refreshing. So yeah, can we just hit 30 likes real quick? We just need one more. But we're very happy. That's good to hear then. Glad you're happy. 189 plus 56. Why? We're not in school, are we? That is, let me think. 56 plus 245. Yeah. Yeah, 245. Isn't it? Yeah. I was pretty good with like maths at school and stuff, so pretty sure that's 245. I thought it was going to be one of those traps because they would just sell like 67 bullshit or 67, whatever. Because I saw this meme, like, and it was like where they were asking, what is it? What is 43 plus 24 to get them to to say 67. These kids are just being like brought up with all this brain rot slop nonsense. And yeah, it's just a shame a lot of real good content isn't being pushed anymore, and all they're seeing is just a bunch of slop. Because that's what they're attracted to. And then they see more of that. The algorithm feeds them more of what they're addicted to, instead of feeding them actual wholesome content that they can actually learn and grow from. They're all just a bunch of NPCs, isn't it? They're just a bunch of like robots, pretty much just saying the same shit. Because the computer is actually just like morphing it all into just the same. So I think a lot of it comes down to like what they're seeing on social media and in the media in general. They all have the same kind of opinions on things, and yeah, it's just so like I don't know. Come on, guys, 30 likes. Come on. I want to get 30 likes before I finish the live. I can be quite stubborn at times, actually, so that's can be a blessing and a curse at the same time, but I don't know why I just keep walking around, but I think it's good. It's good to walk around, and it actually helps with recovery and stuff, like active recovery. It's good for that. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be live streaming my workout today, but we'll see. Yeah, 6 in here now, so yeah, how are we doing, everybody? Can we just get one more like before I finish? I don't like it to be on a number like that. To get 30, just round it up to 30. I take it Sherbur's gone or something. I haven't seen Sherbur say anything else. So yeah, say hello if you're still watching, people. But yeah, I was just like talking a lot about that whole kind of the situation that just happened when was it, last night or whenever it were, the stabbing thing that happened. It's just really horrible, and it's just like the whole kind of like justice system is all fucked in the police and all that, and they were then saying, "Oh, we don't think it's a terrorist attack or something." It's like people are getting just sick of it all. People are sick of feeling like we're on 28 likes now. Okay, someone's just messing around, aren't they? I'm probably just gonna go then. Whatever, you know. It doesn't look like we're gonna get to 30, does it? We need 2 more now, then. I don't know. Like James, yeah, we need 2 more likes before I finish. Then I don't know. Are they just trying to keep me going longer or something? Or it's back to 29 now. So I need to get it to 30, but then someone will probably just take one away after anyway. But it says 31 now apparently. The hell? How has it got 2 likes just suddenly like that? Don't know if someone's using another account or something to help with that, but yeah, it's just I'm not, kind of like saying this to attack any race, by the way. It's just a symptom of like what's going on in this world with like terrorism, and but the fact is that it's the fact that the government do not care about its own people is what it suggests. It's what it's saying, that they bring in these laws to try and protect children, but actually it doesn't. Like they are not protecting anybody. I think it's glitching on your likes, maybe. I don't know what's going on really, but it's just kind of weird. That's the most amount of likes I've had for a while anyway. 31 likes. That's good. Yeah. I've been going on for a while, so we'll need the toilet soon anyway, but yeah, just we've got to do something, People need to put their differences aside. Yeah, everyone's got their own opinions on different things, but like we should all agree that the way things are being run is not right. Like we've literally got people like dodging taxes, but at the same time you've got poor people paying taxes, Like it's like we've got literally like tax havens and stuff like that. Something needs to be done. Like they're sending money over to like Bermuda or something, or one of those overseas territories or something. The whole system is a joke, and it's how they're able to get away with it all. Yeah, I mean, it's like things carry on going the way they're going. Then, good to see. Yeah, okay, thank you, Michael. Things keep on happening. Then people are going to revolt. Is that what they want? Is that where they're going to bring the new world order in or something? Because the whole problem, reaction, solution, whatever, and this whole kind of thing. Because I remember some people were saying that they would stage an alien invasion to get everybody all kind of to like panic, and then get everybody to just kind of accept a new world order or something. Where all the governments unify and all this shit. Some people were suggesting that they would stage an alien invasion, but it could just be that they start creating more wars. Maybe then we'll have World War III, potentially have everyone all trying to fight each other, and then all the governments come together and say, okay, enough's enough, we need to all unite, and then they basically have this totalitarian dictatorship. That's how I could see it unfolding. Is that what they're trying to do? Is that what they're going to try and bring about? I don't know, but it's just I don't know, but it would be convenient for them, I guess, to have more wars and divide and conquer. That's what they do. If everyone all divided, meanwhile they're pulling the strings, and they're all united. Well, they're not all united, but they've got their own factions and whatever, but the people right at the top, they're all working in cahoots, a lot of them, and get everyone else divided. But if we could unite, we would massively outpower them by the amount of numbers that we have. And the thing is, they are nothing without us. We've got to remember that if we come together, then we could destroy it all, destroy the system that we helped build for the empire. But it doesn't have to be that way. We should be building a system for the people who actually built it, not for the people who don't give a fuck about anybody else other than themselves and the friends that support them. Oh, just like an hour. Oh, really? All right, everybody. Have a great day.